Michael, thanks for joining me today on Press Day.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a joy to see you.
So I watched the film over the weekend. I love these psychological horror thrillers. I gotta know what drew you to this darker mystery of Alma and the Wolf.
Well, I mean, part of what drew me to it was there's such a there's a really strong psychological basis underneath
Okay.
the movie about that sort of transcends horror itself in the sort of like the idea that like every human being makes up a story about themselves. That's kind of how you get through the day. You make up a story about who you are and what your place is in the world, and you know, make up a little narrative about it. So that's the underpinning of the movie. And because of that strong psychological underpinning, I felt like I was then able to make a horror movie that wasn't just one horror movie, but was in
Mhm.
fact all of the horror movies. Like,
There
I
you
wanted to try to like, because I really like, I love horror movies, but I don't want to necessarily spend couple of years making like a haunted house movie or
go.
just the one kind of thing. So, and I also love, and all of my work is very tonally liquid, very tonally shifty. And I really enjoyed in this movie being able to make a folk horror movie, a body horror movie, a monster movie, a haunted forest movie, a witch movie, all kinds of different movies, horror genres braided in together in a way for the
Mm.
audience, so the audience you can't really guess where it's going or tonally where it's going. And but not only to do that, but because of the and have the joy of making all of those movies of like, I want to make the movie that's both, the sort of like weird uh intergenerational horror of Ari Aster and then also some bloody, gory, like weird practical effects from John Carpenter and have those be in the same movie. Like and then also and like weird sexuality and crazy like driving rain and all mysterious settings, but then also be able to like take the audience on that journey left, right, up, down, and then at the end just stick the landing of like it be
Mm.
like not a sort of like movie where you get to the end and you're like, oh, I guess it just was that way because it was that way. Like I don't know.
Uh,
But this movie has a reason. This movie like lands in the last 20 minutes, like all of the
oh yeah.
questions are answered, all of the loose ends are tied up, and it ends on an emotional like hammer blow.
Mm.
And I
You-
hope that, people will enjoy the mystery of like, wait, where is this movie go? Not just the mystery of the question of the movie, but the mystery of like, wait, where is this movie going? And
mm.
then like experience the ending. And then I hope what they'll do is watch it again because it's very consciously constructed to be able to be enjoyed more than once. In this era of streaming, it's so easy to just like play it again. So if you were to, this movie is very consciously put together so that if you were to watch it a second time, you would sort of be watching a different movie. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it will make a different sort of sense, and there'll be a different sort of like thing where you're like, oh, I get it. Like all those things that were going like all click
Yeah.
together as a kind of like a little bit of a
Mm.
puzzle.
Yeah. You mentioned setting. Would you say Spiral Creek? I felt like it's its own character, eerie, intimate. Like how
Yeah.
important was this location and atmosphere for building this movie?
So important, really important. Originally we were going to make it in a farmy kind of location.
Okay.
It was really actually the original script was written for Iowa, but we were going to make it in the interior of Oregon, and we had scouted it and done all this, found locations, and then the strike happened.
Yeah.
And everything got shut down. We were like a week away from starting, got shut down. And while we were on strike, I got jumped in my car and I drove up the whole California West Coast. And as I was driving up the coast, I started to see like places that I was like, oh, this is so much more interesting. These places where the
Mm.
murky forest meets the dark ocean and the fog is rolling through and the sand and the
Yeah.
seagrass. Seagrass plays a huge part in the movie. Um, like all those things. And while we were on strike, I called my producing partner and I was like, I think we need to change what we're doing here. We need to go to a place.
Mm.
We need to make Spiral Creek like a mystery forest place where like with horrible mangled trees and find that kind of place. So we just got in our cars and like drove up the Oregon coast and found those locations.
Mm. I want to end this interview with this question. What did the wolf symbolize to you, especially in the relation of Wren's grief and guilt?
Mm. Well, I mean, that's kind of the central. I don't know. How do I answer that question without giving too much away?
Right.
Because the nature of the wolf is the central is part of the central mystery.
Yeah.
I think that the wolf is. symbolic of a sort of like a lot of times in werewolf movies, the wolf is symbolic of like the animal nature of somebody. And that's
Mm.
partially true in this, in that there's a sort of like animal, uncontrollable ferociousness that's associated with the wolf. But as you'll notice, and this wolf is actually quite stately. He's kind of like he's a little bit more of the he's a little bit more of a demon, like a devil character, like a tempter, the way that he works in this, and a taunter and a trickster. Um, so to sort of like have the wolf be not necessarily the like like crazy wolf
Yeah.
like that, but a sort of like wolf that you could practically imagine sitting down to dinner and eating with. Like this is a wolf that would eat with a knife and fork, probably. Um, and so to be able to create that character to work against the kind of like to work both with the ferociousness and scariness of a wolf, but also to work against it at the same time was really enjoyable. Plus, the actual sort of like practical effect of it, because the wolf is a practical effect. It's created by Jim Ojala. That headset and that suit and that body, Jim Ojala did a great job. And to be able to work with all those like animatronics and create it's an incredibly sophisticated, like if you're into monster effects and stuff like that, that headset is one of the most sophisticated things I've ever seen. The amount of like it takes three people to operate its face,
Mm.
and it's amazing.
Michael, I want to thank you for giving me this today on Press Day. This was great. I can't wait to see what the viewers think of the movie.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me on. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.